Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thanks to all of you for joining us today and for your work on this issue. Ms. Gambler, I'd like to start with you, if that's all right. In your written testimony, you point out that in 2013, GAO made a recommendation that DHS establish, quote, timeframes and milestones for a biometric error exit evaluation framework, close quote. But you also point out that it's now 2016, and DHS has said that it's still developing a framework. So can you tell me, first of all, why is an evaluation framework something that's important to have in place in guiding DHS assessment efforts?
Thank you, Senator. A framework like that is helpful to set out and document what methodology CBP or DHS plans to follow as it continues to work toward developing and implementing a biometric exit solution. So for example, it could lay out the methodologies, the metrics that they would look at as they're testing different scenarios. So it's important to help kind of guide and provide a roadmap for the overall effort.
It sounds very important, and it is. So what reasons have been given for why this framework has not been put into place?
DHS does have a draft framework. What they've most recently told us is that they're still finalizing the metrics they will use to evaluate the performance and effectiveness of what the different options that they're being tested, and they're waiting on finalizing those metrics before they complete the evaluation framework.
Did the report that was released yesterday provide a framework that you would consider satisfactory?
The report yesterday was focused on the overstay rate estimates, so we're still waiting to see that evaluation framework.
Okay, so we still don't
Right.
have that. Mr. Wagner, in the DHS report regarding visa overstays, we learned that an estimated 480,000 people overstayed their visas and remained in the country in each of the last 2 years. And while this represents a small percentage of those who came in on such visas, the number itself, as you can appreciate, is very significant. I mean, we're talking about nearly 1 million people just in the last 2 years, just on that type of visa overstay. The congressional mandate for a biometric exit system has now been in place for well over a decade, since 2002, as I recall. And we have we haven't seen the system put in place yet. We haven't even received a timeline for full implementation. So let me just ask you, does DHS have any goal date for full implementation?
Senator, I agree. It's a low percentage, but that's a very large number of overstays. But adding biometric exit to that is going to reduce that number by a little bit, but it's not going to make that problem go away. It's going to confirm with surety that those are overstays. Now,
I understand that. I understand that it's not going to be a cure-all. There's no panacea. There's no magic bullet that's going to fix everything. But we are talking about a mandate that we've had in place now for nearly a decade and a half. And the fact that it wouldn't solve everything doesn't mean that it wouldn't solve part of the problem, and it also doesn't mean that it's not important to have some idea as to when we're going to actually have it.
no, absolutely. And I mean, we are working diligently through these pilots to do this. This is, it is very complex. The travel industry is very time sensitive, very, I mean, you've flown, you know what it's like running through an airport, boarding a flight. It's restructuring those processes, and our travel system was not set up to do this. So we're at a point we can try to inject a biometric into that where it doesn't change that, or we can redesign how people board aircraft and where they board them from.
Okay. All that's good to know. I still would like an answer to my question. Do you have a goal date?
I do not.
And I do find that surprising and disappointing. I understand that you've got a lot of logistical details to work with here. Well, we are talking about something that has been in place now for nearly a decade and a half. And that's a problem. It's a problem that you can't even give me a goal date. Other than the field tests for the next year, is there any set timeline for further efforts?
We plan to do another field trial in an airport later this calendar year. But we have to design it, we've got to fund it, we've got to implement it, and then run it.
But if it takes well over a decade to even get pilot programs up and running, can I expect to see a biometric exit system in place in my lifetime? I mean, I'm 44 years old. I read at the level of a 45-year-old, but I'm not going to live forever. Is that something that's realistic?
Yes, I expect that we will.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. Well,